When we started talking about connected systems and connected experiences, it was one of those situations where we started using that term, and I thought it was so clever. I was like, that's awesome. That's a great term. That's a great fluff marketing term to throw against this. I didn't realize at that point that everyone was already calling it that. Did you realize that?
Yeah.
Oh. Thanks for the heads up.
You were treating me as I was some genius coming up with this term. I wasn't going to let you in on it.
Oh, okay.
I appreciated it.
That's fair. Yeah. I thought it was great.
Oh, it's a great term. It's a really great term. It's plastered on every piece of marketing that you saw at Summit.
Yeah.
Every sock that was issued, every hoodie, every skateboard, connected experience right on. It's a new wave.
Yep. I thought it was a hot cut.
I think the way we're using it is pretty hot.
Well, that's the thing is that
like
people are using that term, but we've already talked about sort of what our definition is. Everyone's got their own definition.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a term that's been co-opted by a lot of different sectors of marketing.
Right.
This idea that you look for something on an app, and then when you go to the website, you get personalized content on it. They're calling connected experience, and I guess that is connected.
Yeah.
I like to think of it more in making use of some of the new sensors and
right.
Things in the IoT space as the connected aspect. But
yeah.
Can argue about that for days.
So what are we talking about?
I don't know.
Adobe Summit?
Sure. We'll give a post-mortem on it.
Yeah. So it's been, we're a week out. We're a week and a half out.
Week and a half out. Would you say you had the least amount of fun ever had in Vegas? You personally?
I imagine that there's a lot of people in Vegas who aren't having a lot of fun. Yeah. I wasn't losing any money.
No, yeah, and I'm not saying... I would say... you're a fun guy. Yeah. I don't know that.
That's a lie. But... yeah, it was I wasn't drinking. I wasn't gambling.
Yeah.
We were up coding every single night.
Yeah. We're taking a lot of baths, though, so you were good on that front.
It was a beautiful bathtub at the Venetian. The Venetian, really nice hotel if you want to experience the world without leaving the hotel.
Don't start me. Don't start.
But it's interesting, they've taken the concept, because when you go into a casino, they don't want you to see outside. They don't want you to know what time it is. They want you to stay there and gamble. And they've taken that to, an extreme place where, you don't have to go outside to experience the rest of your life.
Yeah. The idea it's always dusk at that canal, whether it's 8 a.m. or 2 in the morning. It's another thing that bothers me.
Right. But walking around the Venetian, we couldn't find anything. To get anywhere, it was a 30-minute fiasco.
And that was once I knew where I was going the first round. I circled back. I couldn't find my room.
Yeah, so you went back to your room at 2 in the morning after
marathon session.
A marathon session of pair programming, vastly enabled by the expansive nature of the Venetian hotel rooms.
Could really spread out.
Yeah, you really spread out. The automated window controls is very nice.
The mirage, the fire on the lake kept us awake for a couple hours. I would have nodded off, but the fire show started every hour on the hour. So we had that.
we were talking about this place is ripe for wayfinding.
Yeah.
You get some beacons in there, you get some indoor positioning, you tap into their Wi-Fi, you do wayfinding, but then there's a question: do they want the wayfinding?
No, they don't.
Because what I was seeing, I brought this up while I was there, personalized wayfinding.
Right.
So they've got your marketing profile. They know your interests. They know, it's all tied to ostensibly, casinos always have that card.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They have already, they are leading the pack in analytics and knowing what you do,
because they can tie such big rewards to collecting that data about you, comped drinks, comp meals,
flights,
rooms, all sorts of stuff. So there's huge impetus for sticking that card, for signing up for the program and then sticking that card into that machine. But can they, given all this information they know about you, is there a market for personalizing the wayfinding so that they walk you past, particular things that they want you to see based on your, like maybe you're not taking the most direct route, you're taking a route that walks you by such and such impulse item.
I think by design in Vegas, from what I experienced, you're never taking the most direct route because that doesn't exist.
You're lucky to be taking a route. Yeah. Yeah, we walked around in so many circles just in the Venetian.
Yeah, just the Venetian casino. Like you always, obviously, you have to pass through the casino to get anywhere to get to the convention center. But I felt like every exit looked the same too. So I was always walking out by the same slot machine. I was never in the same place.
Well, your touch point was the front desk. The only place that I was able to meet you in the morning was the front desk. Like I know how to get to the front desk.
That's how I was. It took me 3 elevators to get to the front desk, but I knew the way. And sometimes I waited for, if there was a stack of 4 elevators, I waited for the left one because I knew that one would take me where I wanted to go.
Right.
I was afraid the other ones might.
I don't know where these other elevators are going.
Yeah. We had the booth. We had the demo.
Yeah.
Up and running. We did it a few times. We definitely were tweaking it the whole time. Now I don't know, was that better or worse, but it certainly gave us something to do each evening.
It gave us something to do, and I mean I think we added some features as we went along. We sort of tweaked, the location algorithm to some extent because we weren't really showing off the indoor positioning, like the aspect of actually getting down to, within a few feet or even a few meters. We just wanted that sort of in or out of the proximity.
Right. Yeah, because we were showing off the more, especially at an Adobe conference, we're showing off the targeting and the marketing profile management and things of that nature.
Enabling these things with the Adobe products, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in terms of connected systems and is not really Adobe specific. This is a lot of distributed system technologies and things of that nature, like concepts that have been around forever and are just now, the infrastructure sucks less for doing the stuff.
Yep.
But it was how do you tap into this with AEM or with the marketing cloud or things of that nature? So I don't think it was bad that we were tweaking the stuff.
I mean, there was some stability issues. Just that was the first time.
It was an issue, and this has been an issue every single time. And probably one of the biggest lessons learned from this and the last time we've done like beacon deployments is you got to tell the staff that you're putting up beacons.
Oh man,
those things.
What do we leave with? 12, 16, and we're down to 4.
Well, we went out. So we had 6 actually set up at a couple different locations, and we came home with 3 of them. So we're 50% in the hole on beacons.
Right, and one I believe was still active in a trash can somewhere.
You spent a good hour just walking
around,
with my phone
tracking it
with 2 phones. Just
yeah, it's amazing the difference between iOS and Android.
That's an interesting thing. That's been consistent across the Android devices. Is the readings that you get back, not just off the iBeacon protocol, but even with Eddystone. It's just radio signal strength readings, really, but they're much lower and much less accurate at distance than the readings that you get off of an iOS. So like you would walk out a good ways away from a beacon, and it would hover around like 2.5 meters, and then just drop off, and you wouldn't see it anymore. In iOS, you get pretty good.
I was showing like 17, 18 meters, and it was holding consistent. It wasn't just flickering like in error. It was.
And 17, 18 was like probably not amazingly accurate, but relatively accurate for how
the fact it was holding
at
it. I thought it was kind of wild. I think definitely that's something I learned is to do one of these systems cross-platform. There's a lot of calibration that needs to happen. And you really. I think we touched on that when we did the Fest Forward in Toronto, just talking to some of the other groups that were doing different beaconization and things, but the actual just getting them level across all the different platforms.
Yeah, it's tricky and you're not, but
but unfortunately you have to take a stab at it.
Right.
And, we either got to multiply that 2 meters or,
Right.
you know, find out how accurate that 17 and 18 meters is. But you do want similar, once you're in close, you do want similar readings. And I was finding even close, iOS was showing me 5 to 6 meters when accurately I was about 5 to 6 meters, where Android was showing me 2 to 3 still.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and as we get down to it, we're hoping to get a little more fine.
Yeah.
I think one thing that was cool with the new beacons is I found those much more accurate and a lot stronger than the other one, the radius beacons.
Yeah. So we came out there with a few beacons from Contact.io and a few from Beacon Stack. Yeah. So this is the Contact.io. This is the Beacon Stack beacon. Beacon Stack, obviously a little bigger, a little bulkier. These actually take 4 AA batteries, which was a bit of a pain.
Yeah, and they are heavy.
They are heavy. Well, the batteries are heavy.
Yeah.
This is one that was just sitting on the table there.
4 feet from
4 feet from us.
In our vision line almost the whole time, and then we take our eyes off for a second, it was gone.
Yeah, so we're presuming that somebody threw it, like one of the staff members threw it away. It's possible that someone grabbed it and ran off with it, because if I picked this thing up, I'd be like, oh, this is hefty, and like looks
right, because you'd
like
almost think it had some gum or some breath mints in it or something, but then when you pick it up, you know that there's something substantial in it.
Right. But I mean, this is powered by 4 AA batteries, but it's powered by that because it's got some sensors other than just the beacon stuff. So both of these you can do. This one does iBeacon and Eddystone. Contact.io has a separate line of beacons for Eddystone. But the Beacon Stack ones, you've got a temperature sensor in here, and you've also got a motion sensor, so you can get some stats on, like, is it in motion currently or is it stationary? So, you know, if you've got these mounted on a moving object, or if you want to do theft detection or something like that, like you can get a report of when these things move. But yeah, these work great. Just a little bigger than the Radius Network ones.
Which I thought would have helped us hold on to them, and instead...
You'd think so.
I mean, the ones we lost last year were taped to the back of tables, and things that had gotten broken down, you wouldn't even notice them because they were so light, and they're about the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But yeah, the convention itself, you know, I tried to hit a couple of, like, the more technical sessions. Yeah. Obviously, this wasn't a developer conference, so, you know... Not super heavy on the technical sessions.
I thought it was cool though that some of the sessions were given by the lead engineer of the product. So even though they weren't digging too deep, say, into the code level of things, they were able to answer very specific questions about how things work.
Right.
Which I thought Bruce from the AM Mobile team did a cool one that you and I both went to.
You got to shake hands with Bruce.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. We'd only talked over Twitter and email, so it was nice to meet in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you went to one on the algorithm for Target.
I went to one on Target where they got pretty deep in the weeds on sort of the Bayesian approach that they use for modeling and the targeting, and kind of how that works, and some of the newer stuff they're doing with all the data that you can pull into Target and what you can do with it. But it was pretty mathsy, which I was hoping for and sort of expecting. You could kind of tell that a lot of the room sort of tuned out as soon
glazed over with the math.
Yeah, as soon as the Greek letters showed up on the screen, like that's where they started really tuning out. But it was, you know, it's an interesting phenomenon. I've seen this at conferences a few times, but I think because this wasn't a developer conference, it was much more pronounced. But you see when you're at these conference sessions, people, like, every single time there's a slide up on the screen that's got some, like, pretty boxes or something on there, like, people are pulling out their smartphones and, like, taking a picture of it to tweet. Like,
I was gonna say, I noticed that too, and I used to think that it was to get a picture of the slide.
Right.
And then I noticed everyone right after that, you could see their phone, they were tweeting it out, or
so they're tweeting it up on Facebook, so it's a tweet with, you know, it's that coupled with, you know, maybe the three or four words that were said in tandem with the slide. And I'm trying to, like, I don't understand the value in that aside from proving that you were actually at the conference. But there's a guy sitting next to me who was great. He's taking a picture every single time. There's a slide with a couple boxes on it, and at one point, the camera on his phone stops functioning. He's like freaking out. Like he's now completely stopped paying attention to the presentation. He's very loudly like flipping out that his phone isn't working. He's not getting these pictures of these slides because they don't need them for the slides. They're gonna get the slides.
Well, that's what I've always wondered is the slides are posted either right before or right after. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, we had George Clooney there.
Clooney. Well, they also had a wax version of George Clooney that I accidentally sat down next to. They had him set up just on a bench.
How did you accidentally sit down next to him?
Because I needed to sit down. I got away from the booth for a while to write some code for the booth.
Yeah.
Opened up my laptop, and I just sat in a chair, like, adjacent, perpendicular to... I didn't even notice it was a wax figurine. I just thought it was some dude just sitting there.
I just thought Clooney was just sitting there.
Well, I didn't notice at first, and I hear people walking by, they're like, there's George Clooney. And so I look up, and sure enough, I look over, and there's...
Surely they're not mistaking me for George Clooney.
It's like, oh, God, my hair's too light. Guys, come on. And he has his arm thrown up on the couch, and it was a full waxing, and they had security around him, but they just looked like dudes that were at the conference.
Yeah.
And as people would come up, they'd take picture. They would take your picture with them. But it was from Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
So were you close enough that you were photobombing everyone's pictures?
I could have. A simple one of these would have got me in every picture. But I was just laid back. I was in the code, man.
Yeah.
I was trying to make that thing work.
Yeah.
Trying to get the iOS app working. But it was kind of funny that they had to remind everyone not to touch his head because if you crack that off, there's hell to pay.
That's cost.
Yeah. But lots of different crazy pictures. There was
I'd imagine because a lot of the events, once you got into the evening, there was always some alcohol involved.
Right. My favorite was one girl refused to let somebody else take her picture with George, and she was taking a selfie like this because it wouldn't be a true selfie if someone else took it, and that was her reasoning.
Nice. But she's not wrong.
No, she's absolutely right, and she's committed.
Yeah.
She does not want to get accused of taking a false selfie with wax George Clooney.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, that's fair. What'd you think of the bash?
It was over the top.
Yeah.
So I hadn't been to Summit in maybe 2 years. I was there 3 years ago, and it delivered.
Yeah. I'd like to see, because Adobe obviously is in the marketing game, I'd love to see the attribution around like conversion as it relates to the bash itself.
Well, that'd be interesting if you could get some stats on the sign-ups before and after, say they announce Weezer as the band, because that doesn't happen right off the bat.
Right.
It does it up.
Well, those, I'm sure they can get that statistic.
Yeah, sure. I'd be interested in the statistic.
Yeah.
If that would be a driver. But I don't know, because I think a lot of this is pre-planned in your budget. If you're from, so-and-so's marketing department, that's planned on January 1st, even though the year before, and then the bash comes, or the summit comes, and you're going no matter what.
Yeah, or Adobe's bringing you out there.
Yeah, which I'm sure there's plenty of comp.
To work with you.
Comp trips and whatnot.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the sneaks. Show they put on. Yeah, that one I wish you had come. Like I wish I had known it was going to be that good, and I think more of us should have went to that. It coincided with our event, the ICF Olsen event, but the I'm going to call him the kid, but he's a grown man who he stars in the Silicon Valley, the HBO show, but I guess he's an improv. So he's not a comedian like Jerry Seinfeld was to do with this. He's like an improv guy, and they had him host it, which I thought was weird. So it was like the CMO of Adobe, and then I can't remember his name now, but let's edit his name in.
All right. Yeah. Just move your mouth and I'll put it in.
Do a barrel roll.
Perfect.
Yeah. But they went through 10 new features, but uses of the technologies and just kind of cool things. And the first one out of the gate was using not a PlayStation, Xbox. Connect.
Yeah.
To determine someone's clothing size, and then also give them some suggestions. You use that in order
Little
to
personalized content.
Yeah, I mean, they're still looking to make a sale. It's Adobe.
Little connected experience, maybe.
Yeah, and it hit right. I don't know if it was a fix or not. It didn't seem like they'd set him up. The other two guys first went, But it got his size. He even pulled out a shirt to show.
Nice.
And and then saw the content coming. But overall, the people that Adobe had come up from the different groups were also very funny, and were able to interact with him and the CMO. So it made for a good show. It didn't hurt. They were flinging beers at people.
Right.
Right. And they had Sculpin, which I'm a fan of. I spent some time in San Diego. So like that, anything by Ballast Point, and it's a strong beer. So you get 4 or 5 Sculpins in you.
Do you right?
Yeah, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna find anything funny. But some of the sneaks were about connecting all those things together, and I thought that was cool. I wonder how often that happens. That you get a full stack, like Adobe gets a full stack. That you're using their video production and Photoshop in order to create assets that are then being ingested by AEM, and then creating websites and apps from that, and then using Target and DMP to personalize the content within those, and just everything just flowing right down the way there.
Probably not often.
Not often, I don't think so.
No.
That's Adobe calling.
No, that's alright. It's not recording.
Lies.